And we're back with episode number 30, sitting across from Ferdinand. Ferd, right?
Yep, Ferd.
Thanks for coming on, first of all.
Thank you for having me.
This is episode 30. I think it's been almost an entire year since I've had a guest on, just like I told you before we started recording. And let's start off by just like, how do you feel right now? Like doing a podcast, like what are the feelings that are going through, you know, like what's the vibe?
I feel like this is a new space, a new opportunity to learn something new. And I told you earlier, like, I want to start my own podcast, and I feel like this is a good, segue to get my feet wet and like, try it out in the future.
Which is interesting because I think that that's one of the main reasons why I enjoy doing it with like a guest, because there's also like joy and like beauty obviously in like doing it with someone that you already know, which is the version that I do with my girlfriend.
Yeah.
But there's something like the nuance of just discovering new perspectives every time you sit down with somebody new.
Right.
You know, like that just you can't replicate that. And that's one of the reasons why I enjoyed it so much. Like at one point I was doing like 2 guests per week. And I was just like trying to like pump out full episodes and spending like 2 to 3 hours pulling my hairs out, like trying to edit everything and just deal with everything myself. And it was just like fueled by this passion and this like need to just like, I need more people. Like I need it literally becomes a drug, right? Because it's like, it's someone new and then there's new perspective there and there's new value and there's new lessons. And if it doesn't feel like you're learning, and like, that's the power of it, I think, is like, I don't know, like, and even if you don't learn anything, like you do take something away,
Yeah, I feel like it's like a positive distraction.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
I think those are things that you have to like double down on in the future. Like even right now, I love your content with your girlfriend, your podcast.
Appreciate it. Yeah,
I feel like having someone like daily or like that you do it with all the time, it creates like that unique community that people know you and her. And it's a nice feeling, I feel like.
Which funny enough, we end up learning a lot about each other, which has helped our relationship tremendously. And I think that that's like that goes back to what we were talking about before we started recording about how like having the right people around you and having people who are like open-minded and like having the ability to bounce off ideas. That's very important. And I do believe that most modern relationships don't do that with each other, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that.
Right? Because a lot of the ones I see, at least, like they're very superficial, very like, like let's take a picture together on the beach and let's like travel and show the world that we're happy together.
And then they'd be this on their phone,
right?
On
right, like showing each other off, and like that's the full extent of it, you know. And then like sitting down with a spouse and just having these like long form conversations, even if we like pre-plan or coordinate topics together. It's like, like on this episode we're gonna talk about this and this and this. That's all we do. Like we like discover each other's perspective on those topics during the show, and that's what still like makes it worthwhile for me, because otherwise if it's all scripted and it's like, and then I'll say this sentence and then you have to like catch up on it and then react this way, and then that'll get us clicks on TikTok, and then it's like exactly. Like we could do that, right? And a lot of people do that, and I could even do that with this guest segment and say like, so we're gonna do this and this and this, and then send you like homework for you to figure it out, and then just like, so just a heads up, this is the outline of our episode.
The thing with that is like you can't rely on your guests to do that too.
You can't. You can't. Yeah, and I think it's also insulting to the guests. It's like, then what's my purpose?
Yeah.
Because anyone can like follow script. Like what's the purpose of having Ferd here versus anyone else? Like anyone else can also follow the script. So it's like, it's a whatever. Do you subscribe, or have you subscribed before? Like what's your perspective on hustle culture, on this, like, because we're talking about like posting stuff online and like the Gary V characters and like the online gurus, like grind, like hustle, like work from fucking 9 to 5 and then from 5 to fucking 5 you grind and you eat shit for free and you work for free for somebody else, and you know, like, what do you think about all that?
You see, I come from way back. In middle school, I used to like watch all that motivational videos every day in the morning. I'm a 8th grader listening to motivational videos.
That's crazy, actually. I was not in that mindset at all.
Yeah, I've always had this like mindset where like I want to be a billionaire at like 23. I'm 24 now, so it's hard.
He's a billionaire, by the way.
But yeah, I've always had that mindset. Like my dad's always like influenced me in like that subject. You know, I don't want to like, I get a little personal, but you know, he as he was growing up, he didn't have much. You know, we grew up in Newark, New Jersey.
Same.
Yeah, medium income, low income family, and we're Puerto Rican, so you know we don't get that much, you know, leeway to things.
Yeah.
So he, you know, he grew up on the streets, you know, did tons of drugs and stuff, but he had a turning point where he like turned his like life around, and I don't know how he did it, but he like went cold turkey, and he hasn't done any of that since. Like this was like before I was born.
Just like a complete 180.
Yeah, complete 180.
Yeah.
And I'm getting a little off topic here, but
no. There's no such thing as that on this podcast, for real. There's none of that.
Yeah, he has such a great influence for me. You know, he got kind of big during the years. He's 30 years older than me, so he's 54 right now. But it wasn't until like 2016 where like he looked at his health, and he did the same thing he did in the past with the drugs, but with health this time. He went on a whole keto diet.
Keto's great for losing fat. Yeah.
I don't know how he did it. He intermittent fasting and keto diet. So that man went from like 200 to like 170, and he's really big now too. And like he's like such a great inspiration. So back to the, you know, hustle culture. I look at him and I'm like, you know, I want to be just like him. Like, you know, he's like my influence. People say, you know, oh, Gary Vee is my influence. Who else is big? Jordan Peterson. Yeah. So, you know, listening to these people, I got into fitness myself. I'm eating healthier, and I used to be extreme where I wake up at 5 a.m. and like work out. But I know now I have my own time, and I could like schedule it like better. So I wouldn't say like hustle culture is a bad thing, but I wouldn't say you should obsess with it. You know?
Yeah.
There's a balance to everything.
For sure. Balance is key, I think. And it's funny you say that because I went through my heavy phase of just like entrepreneurship, self-help books. It's like every week I was reading something new, something that would help me also make $1 billion by Napoleon Hill. I actually have it right there, I think. Yeah. It's like somewhere in here. But just buying a bunch of books, and then kind of also dealing with the imposter syndrome that I feel like everybody goes through when you're trying to achieve anything, right?
Yeah.
Sorry. And so like my point is, I got to a point, especially with COVID, where everything kind of stopped. So there wasn't really any room for like hustle culture anymore, because you can't hustle. It's like you can, but at the same time, like the world has stopped spinning.
Yeah. And people were doing it in scummy ways in the beginning of COVID. They would get like hundreds of masks, thousands of masks.
Right. And then heighten the prices. Yeah. And so like those people, which is ironic, right? Because like those are the same people that if COVID wasn't a thing, like they would be selling you something else, and they would be selling you the dream to like become, you know, rich and wealthy, and they'll be like in the club and then saying like, oh, like buy my program, my mentorship, whatever the fuck it is. But I was also of the mindset that hustle is the only way for you to like succeed in life. And my biggest mistake was that for a sustained period of time, for over like 4 years, I never tried factoring in happiness.
Yeah.
And it came like, I don't know how to explain it, but me neglecting it for so long, when COVID came and I finally had time to like sit with myself, and I had no other choice but to sit with myself and actually have a conversation with myself, if that makes sense. That's when it just all like just weighed all at once. Like everything I was stuffing into the closet, neglecting happiness, neglecting even personal health.
Yeah.
You know, like stress wise, like I was like working out every day, but I didn't feel healthier because I felt like my health was just going on a downhill spiral, you know, stresses and so the irony is that it took a world catastrophe, calamity, whatever you want to call it, to like reset internal watches as well, like internal compasses.
Yeah.
And that's what happened to me. So like hustle culture, I feel like now I have an entirely new perspective on it. I feel like that's just a very clever way for example, let's use Gary Vee again. He always preaches about like certain things, right?
Yeah.
It's like grind and kindness and like all of these like keywords that he uses. He's a genius marketer, and that's all I view him as now.
Yeah.
It's like there's like no motivation. Like unfortunately I like always see him with like more skepticism than like anything else. But the way they do it is they kind of like reel you in with these expectations of like grandiose outcomes. And then once you're in that, you become addicted to that inner loop. And so you become kind of like a follower of his, but almost as if you're like a devout Christian or like a devout religious whatever follower. It's like you now rely on him to like guide you. So he's won you over. Like
that makes perfect sense.
Right. So it's like he's still selling you.
And the thing
without
is, like,
you knowing it.
When you're like in that position, you don't even realize it yourself.
Right.
You have to like really step back and think like,
exactly.
Damn, like, I'm like listening to all these motivational videos and stuff, and I'm still in the same position I'm at. You know, I could like this work and do it as they say. You know, wake up at 5. You know, grind 12 hours a day, sleep for 5 hours and stuff.
Yeah.
And you know, a lot of things don't change like that. It's like little steps you got to take.
Gradual.
Yep, gradual.
And it also has to be like stirred inwardly. Like it has to come from inside. Like you can't. In my opinion, you can't, sorry, I'm like trying to like figure this out. You can't manifest change without it deriving inwardly, if that makes sense. So something has to like stir and change inside of you in order for it to manifest outwardly and for the world to see it. But then what people don't realize is that they're chasing this like external fix that's not going to like do anything, because it's just these people, these like gurus and people that everybody else looks up to, that they're as flawed, if not more flawed, than you are. And they're just projecting their like bullshit onto you and just like making money off of it.
That's very true.
Which is wild.
I was gonna say that like I just lost my train of thought.
Sorry about that, by the way.
No, it's okay.
Just keep going.
Just continue. I'll probably think about it.
But yeah, so like, are you into spirituality? Like, what's your fix now? That you've like, what filled that hustle void? Because for me personally, it was like spirituality. If them, you know,
I'm in the same position. Like
same position.
Yeah, spirituality. I like Buddhism. You know, I like
Buddhism.
Buddhism.
Amazing.
I would consider myself solipsist, maybe.
Solipsism.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I actually did a TikTok on that.
Yeah, I saw. I was like, wow, you're talking about it.
It's such a weird thing to say, right? It's like, oh, I did a TikTok about that. It's like that's just something that somebody says though. That's wild. What's your main, like, what do you love about solipsism?
You know, it all goes back to like, you know, I think you did TikTok on this too, the egg theory.
The egg theory,
yeah,
yes.
I just believe like we're all just one people.
Yeah.
Like
experiencing life through different lenses.
Like, I don't know if you ever felt like that. Like somebody tells you something and you feel like you lived through that before.
Yes. And it's not deja vu.
It isn't.
It's like, it's an internal feeling that you just feel like, oh, wait, but you're telling me something that I thought I experienced, but you didn't experience because that person did.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
That's why I feel like I don't really try to hate anybody in this world, because I feel like that's like just another version of me in a different like life. And like, it's so weird to explain it, bro. Like, I feel like there's good and evil. And I feel like with each life you live through, whether it's like a person that's in the 1700s, like owning slaves, or like a person that's in the future in like 2500, and it's like you go through these stages of evil, then you progress to like good, and then basically you reach that final life, which you become like a god, basically. Which is
what the egg theory talks about. Yeah.
And you know, you're like, it's like tranquility, enlightenment, basically.
Right. I was gonna say something. Hold on. About that, actually. Right, because the way that I've begun seeing life is very similar to that, and what actually like served as an even bigger like catalyst, if you will, was the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once. It's the idea of like nothing fucking matters.
It doesn't.
If you really think about what matters today, especially with COVID happening and all that bullshit, it really forced everybody to like re-evaluate their like values and what they value in life and what they hold important for themselves and for those around them. Like what's of importance for you? And that's my biggest realization, that nothing fucking matters.
Yeah.
Nothing matters. It's like, you could have came to this podcast, you could have been nervous, you could have like whatever, like, but there's no point to feeling nervous. There's no point to feeling anger. There's no point to anything. So what do you do in that, in a world that lacks meaning? You give meaning to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then
that's exactly what you do.
And then the best way to give meaning to it is something that not only benefits yourself, but benefits those around you. And that's when you deploy empathy and you start acting through solipsism and through the egg theory, and just treat thy neighbor as if you.
Yeah.
Everybody knows what I'm talking about, right? Jesus, like Jesus said that. But yeah, so I couldn't agree more. It's like, that's what's making the most sense for me now recently.
Yeah, it's a weird but good feeling.
Yeah. It's like more like calming, I think.
Yeah, it's because just like you, I used to stress a lot, and honestly, it wasn't until like COVID where like I had to like step back and like I think I'm more of a giving person.
Mm-hmm.
I love to give like to my family, my friends, and like I love to see the reaction to it. But I noticed that I wasn't giving to myself, and I had to like sit down and just think like the most important person in this world, that in this life I'm living, is myself right now.
Yeah.
And in other people's life, it's their selves. And I just took a step back and I started like taking myself out on dates. I know it sounds corny, but
it doesn't sound corny to me. No.
Yeah, like it
doesn't.
I think it's so important to do that.
It sounds necessary.
Yeah. Because a lot of people, they feel like they need somebody around them. They're like dependent on them. Yeah. And I just feel like when you experience things alone, you're not necessarily lonely.
Yeah.
And you could just like sit down quietly and just observe everything around you and just appreciate what you have and be grateful. That's another thing, practicing like gratefulness, like
mindfulness.
Yeah, mindfulness. Yeah. Like I would write down like what I'm grateful for. And
I do that every morning. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a nice feeling. Like it's necessary to tap into a happy life.
Which is also what I believe in too. It's like being alone, I think, is the biggest. Sitting alone with yourself and with your thoughts, especially the dark ones, because I think that's what a lot of people do, especially today, like in like modern society, where everything's about like how you're portrayed and how you depict yourself to the world. So like the substance and what's inside doesn't really matter, because what matters is like taking a picture in your bikini, because like that gives you validation and that brings you attention and that fills this void that's been deprived during your childhood from your parents, and then it's like that is enough temporarily.
Yeah.
But then you might have a bunch of, and by the way, I'm not saying you take a picture in the bikini. By the way, you guys should follow his OnlyFans. Subscribe.
You might like it.
I meant like generically, like because I don't want to be that guy and say like, oh, like women, all women do is just, like they just want attention and they just post their butt. But a lot of girls do.
Like men do the same thing.
They do, yeah, especially when it comes to like fitness.
Yeah.
And what's crazy to me is that I had a harsh realization that I just got to a point where I was like, holy fuck, like I was chasing the biggest thing that I'm kind of like stand against. Mm-hmm. Nothing brings me more cringe or makes me cringe the most than seeing people, like fitness people, like just like flexing and like depicting themselves and like that becomes their identity.
Actually, I have a story. I go to like Planet Fitness, and I don't know if I should say the location.
He goes to Planet Fitness.
Yeah, I go to Planet Fitness.
Because you don't want like weird people out there like stalking you. Like I go at this exact time.
But I go to a Planet Fitness,
right.
And there was this one day, and this guy, he really big, like really built. He's like 6'7", takes off his shirt. He has a cameraman, and just doing pull-ups and like bench pressing and stuff.
Inside Planet Fitness?
Yeah, they didn't say anything, too. Nothing.
Don't they have like a whole thing about like tank tops and like lunk alarms and stuff?
Yeah, and I'm like, what the hell is this guy doing? Mm-hmm. And believe it or not, I found his TikTok. it's so weird, like how that works. Like I see him, and then I see a TikTok of him, and he posts that video, and he's like flexing all like, oh, this is like your expectation versus reality in gyms. So he does like a side by side. And like it's crazy how he took his time out of the day to like flex for everybody and like
yes
get followers from it.
And is he like famous? Is he like relatively famous?
He had like 2 million like followers. I was
2
like,
million followers.
What are you doing in New Jersey?
What the fuck? Yeah, see, like that's also my problem, and that's one of the reasons why I have this canvas right there of Vitruvian Man, because I feel like that perfectly represents the search for the placement of humans in this like broader universe, right? So it's like, how do you how do you square a circle? How do you fit us into this like broader equation? And with all that being said, it's like, my point is, I believe in being a multifaceted person, and that's why when you said that you have so much stuff that you want to post on TikTok, that's why I told you, like, post everything, because like you should never. And this is ironically coming from the conspiracy theory guy, but my point is that like I do have the conspiracies on TikTok, but then I like doing these podcasts where it's like more versatile. It's more like I could just speak my mind about like anything and everything, and then like so being one like unifaceted and just relying on one thing to determine your identity and determine your value in the world and like all that stuff, like that's the biggest disservice you do for yourself and you do for the world, because otherwise you're just consuming oxygen and you're not really like giving anything to like giving any value to anyone. And the irony is just that I was like pursuing the whole gym business, but it was more like passion for business than it was for fitness, if I'm being honest. And I only realized that in retrospect, because I was never like really of that mindset of like, oh, I'm gonna compete. Like I'm gonna go on those shows and wear like thongs or whatever and just fucking like tan myself and shit. Like that never appealed to me. Like not even remotely. You know, like taking shit, like shooting shit up, like doing all those prerequisites that are required, by the way, for you to compete at that level. And anyone who says otherwise is lying to you. And that is very similar to like the hustle gurus. And that's also something else. It's like people always say like, oh, like I'm like natural, you know, like I'm all natural, but it's all bullshit. But yeah, so I don't even know how we got to posing on stage and like in a thong, tanned in a thong. I don't even know how we got here.
It's crazy.
That's why it's called mentally gone. You know, it's just like, but so. All right, so segue, which is also something that Edwin asked. So shout out to Edwin. I'm going to get his handle. Do you know his handle by heart?
No. Edwin.cal, I believe.
All right, wait. I'll just like make sure, because then I'll shout him out. Because he left a question. All right, Edwin.cal, which is EDWYN.CAL. He also has like restaurant, right? What's it called?
It's Habanero.
Habanero. So if you're in New Jersey, search up Habanero.
Really good Mexican food.
I still have to go there and try it out. So he asked the question. He said, "What are you passionate about?" And I think that's a good like segue, because we were talking about like being passionate and letting your passion consume you. So what are you passionate about?
Man, I'm passionate about a lot of things.
What's the most passionate? Like what? I don't know.
I want to change the world.
How?
This innovation, creating technology, you know, that helps the human race, society advance, because I feel like that's the main mission for us humans, just to like advance. A lot of people, I actually want to talk to you about this. A lot of people, they go the greedy route, you know, they do a lot of things for themselves, and this doesn't put anything out for the world. And I know like Elon Musk, he has like his flaws and stuff. A lot of people hate him, a lot of people love him.
I'm a fan.
Yeah, I'm a fan too.
Yeah. Dude's crazy.
He wants to go to Mars. Like, look what he's doing.
Yeah,
I want to be just like that. And there's something called the Kardashev Scale. I don't know if you ever heard of it. So it's basically like it's a scale of civilization, and there's like, you know, stage 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It has 7 stages, and like a guy, some old guy, I don't know, he created the book.
Shout out to him.
He says that like us humans, we're not even on stage 1 yet, and we've been around for like 10,000 years, I guess, according to the Bible. And we're on 0.71 of the scale. 0.1 of the scale was would be like having energy, use like natural energy to use for our society and civilization. 2 would be like cures for diseases, cancer. 3 is like space travel, you know, basically creating your own little universe in a simulation. 4 is even more powerful. 5 is like beyond the third dimension, 4th dimension. Jesus. 6, 7 is basically you're a god, and apparently you can't ever get there. You know, 6 is like, it has to do with like, you know, time, the reality of time,
being able to kind of like navigate time in a 4-dimensional space. So it's like viewing time as like a place.
Yeah, and basically like I think after the 4th stage, you're no longer like a physical form. You're like
a light entity. A light being or something. Yeah.
And it's sad to see like we're not even on stage 1 yet because of so much greed in this world. Like a lot of people who are, you know, up there in the world that control the whole entire world, they do a lot of things for money and, you know,
Amazon.
Yeah.
Jeff Bezos.
And it's like we should have cures for cancer and, you know, diseases and stuff by now. And probably we do. Who knows? Like they're probably like sideline that because they want to make money off of like the health industry,
or they're like reserving it for the top dogs and like, they have access to it.
And you know, I just feel like that holds us back so much. We should be an advanced society, at least stage 2 or 1, you know.
So you're passionate about the idea of like helping push past those stages. That's interesting. The idea of greed and just being selfish. I think that it's okay to be selfish when you use it, just like you said, like it's like put on the oxygen mask for yourself before you help the person next to you on the plane. If the plane's crashing, like you are of no use if you pass out. So you have to like focus on yourself and like be selfish in order to be selfless. It's a prerequisite of sorts, but I think that it just goes back to filling voids. I think it's like we're so fast paced right now, you know, like society, work culture, rat race, everything's like fast paced. It's like all like fashion is like morphing, like you blink and there's a new trend, you blink again, and you know, it's just always moving. And so you never have like time to really like ask yourself what you can do to change it, but you're just always just like taken by the wave. You know, so that tide comes and you have like, so it's easier, I guess, to be taken with that tide and be taken by that wave than it is to like resist every single one, because it's always coming. It's always like new wave. And I feel like one of the few people who are actually actively trying to swim against the wave and against the tide is Elon Musk, because he's like focused in his own universe, basically. He runs, I don't know how many companies, like 5 companies, different companies simultaneously. He's definitely a robot. He's like an alien or something like that. But he's like, maybe that's his purpose, is to have been born on Earth and to push humanity towards new frontiers. What do you say about people who say that he's like the Antichrist? Like, I don't know if you've seen conspiracies like that, but people are saying that he is the biggest advocate. And again, I am a fan of his, but he's the biggest advocate for how technology and AI will one day go rogue on us, and it's very dangerous and we shouldn't be like playing with it. But then again, he also is the one coming out with like personal assistant robots that are humanoid. With
the, what's it called? Neuralink.
I
don't know if you've seen the monkey. Have you seen that?
The monkey experiment?
Where he he implanted like a chip on a monkey and like basically had the monkey like touch screen like bananas on a screen perfectly. Yeah.
Wow.
You have to see that video. It's actually crazy.
There's a video of it.
Yeah.
Holy shit. So so like, what do you think about people saying that maybe he's creating a conducive vessel for like demonic spirits to like embody these robots, and then like that's what's gonna overtake us as humanity? It's like these demons are gonna come.
I believe with each generation there's an antichrist, like an antichrist, because you know back then you could say like 100 years ago people would say Hitler,
Rockefeller,
the Renaissance age. They will say even like the priests themselves are antichrist because they're just, you know, handing out people like free tickets to heaven. So I feel like a lot of people, they obsessed with the
minutia.
Yeah, they obsessed with the goal like that the world is gonna end. Yeah, I don't know if you noticed that, like,
which ironically was my second to last TikTok post about the world ending, and it's at like 500K because people love it.
The lady holding the sign, right?
Yeah, climate change and shit.
Yeah, like I feel like people obsessed. They want the world to end. It's like, yo, chill out a bit. Like,
I never understood that. Like, do you think it's nihilism? Do you think it's just tired, feeling tired of just how the world is right now?
I think people, it's my personal opinion, but I think people are like bored of their life, and they're like, you know, I want something to happen like in the movies, like 2012, like that'd be crazy.
Because I'm tired of working at Subway for 14 hours.
A zombie apocalypse, home.
Isn't that crazy how we live in a? Think about it. We live in the most hyper-stimulated society, right? You're overstimulated 24/7. You're being bombarded with information, content, screens, and then it's also the society that's the most bored. That just wants the world to explode so that they have a little bit of adrenaline, a little bit of stimuli.
That's why when any little thing happens in the world, there's just so much coverage on it.
Just like the fucking Johnny and like Amber Heard trial and stuff. I didn't even follow that, but like there's no way for you to not follow it because you hear it everywhere. Everyone's talking about it, you know?
These like comedic trends on TikTok, on Twitter.
Right.
It's crazy.
And like new shows come out and then it becomes the hype of the moment. It's just so wild to me. It's like it's great because
everything's so fast paced. It's crazy.
Right. And it's so wild because like back in maybe our parents' time, you would have like big movie stars and that's it. Like they were consolidated in their position, you know. Aside from Tom Cruise, like there's always this revolving door of like who's in the spotlight.
And
like
social media changes all that.
Social media,
the internet itself,
relevancy, and that fight for like relevancy, I think is important. Well, not important, but it's like prevalent.
Yeah.
Do you care about legacy? Do you care about relevancy? Like, do you care? And you could be honest because I'll give you my opinion and I'm just going to be honest.
I would say not necessarily, but if I'm going to be like totally honest, maybe a little bit.
A little bit. Yeah. Okay.
But I think in the grand scheme of things, like it really doesn't matter.
Right.
Like tomorrow, like a meteor, right, that NASA didn't catch could hit us, and like what does legacy have to do with anything?
Has to do with like nothing.
Yeah. So I feel like to a point you could say like, you know, your legacy is like what you create for with the group around you, you know. Like your friends might have kids and then be like, oh, like I had a friend, you know, he was such a good guy, he taught me this lesson and stuff, and it gets passed down through generation. That's a legacy. Nothing like materialistic. I don't say that's a legacy.
Right.
Like owning a building, you know.
Yeah, that has your name on it.
Yeah,
like Trump Tower or something.
They're gonna knock that down one day.
Yeah, definitely gonna knock it down as soon as he passes away. That's what I was gonna say too. Is the idea of living on through people's memories that like people who are relevant to you, you know, like people who you value their opinion, if that makes sense. So it's like, just like you said, it's when I was going through the whole hustle thing and the whole gym thing, I was very preoccupied, I guess, with like legacy. And like not only legacy, but like, oh, like I need to leave a meaningful impact on this world. I need to, like every person I interact with, I have to like impact them in like a positive way, add value and stuff. And it got to this point where it was just toxic for myself.
Yeah.
Because just like you said, like I was giving and not giving to myself.
Yeah, you hold yourself at high expectations where you're just only
all
human.
The time. Yeah. Right. And you can't satisfy everyone. And sometimes it's hard enough to just satisfy yourself.
Yeah,
you know?
I think a lot of people in this like world just care about other people's opinion on them. It just doesn't matter. Like, just live for yourself. Like, their opinion is not gonna do anything to you.
It's not gonna change
like,
anything.
For example, like if you're like creating content, like people like, you know, they're just talking about you, like, oh, like it's mad corny, like why are you being so cringe and stuff? Like, who cares? Like, I don't care. I'm the one that's gonna, you know, I'm putting the effort to change my life, and you're just complaining.
Right.
You're hating for no reason.
Right. And that's actually one of the reasons why, personally, I like using hats a lot. I like wear hats. So if you go on my TikTok, like you'll never find one where it's not like it's me not wearing a hat or with podcast. And the reason why is because I had this like euphoric moment, I guess, where I just realized I was like, if I could do like put as little effort as possible into how I am portrayed into the world and just have people kind of focus on the words and the message that I'm trying to relay instead of like worrying about like, oh, like how does my hair look? Oh, like I should put like buy this new brand of pomade. I should do whatever. It's it's like just put a hat on, put a hoodie on, and just go to work and just like focus on your message, you know, and like that's what I've been doing for the longest time. And I kind of took a page out of Mark Zuckerberg's like way of like living. Like he has like
the same thing,
the same t-shirt, the same hoodie. It's like, because then you're not putting as much energy into being like vainful. Is that the word? Like,
I would say so.
Vanity, right? Yeah. Whatever, yeah.
You don't have to worry about it. Like, it's just, you know, it's a habit. You just like, oh.
Yeah. And then just focus on bigger things and you don't expend as much energy on like stupid stuff.
I wear hats all the time too. Like, I like wearing hats like this where it's like, you know.
Where it has a message on it.
Yeah, it has a message. Yeah. I'm also like, you know, I lost my hair. Like,
okay.
So like, I don't care. I mean, I've been wearing hats all my life, and I don't know. I feel like you could like, it creates character. Puts on a message like this, and
and believe it or not, it creates a sense of like consistency around your aura, right? So it's like I don't know how to explain it, but like people know what to expect from you. But at the same time, because they know what to expect on this fundamental level, then that grants you this freedom to kind of innovate in like different levels. So it's like physical appearance, I've never been like preoccupied with, and that's why I never fell victim again to the whole like fitness craze of like trying to like have a six pack 365 days a year. Like I'm at the most overweight I've ever been in my life, and I'm okay with it. It's like I really.
You still look good.
Oh,
I'm just gonna say.
Appreciate it. My only goal is to look good in a bikini. So like as long as I can like sustain that, then I'm fine. But like my point is like now it just grants me that like freedom of just like focusing, for example, on like meditating every day.
Yeah.
You know, and not so much like I'll try to go to the gym every day at like 5 a.m. But usually like 1 or 2 days a week I'll like miss out. And then I'll never miss out on like meditating. I'll never miss out on like journaling. I'll never miss out on like just like reading a book that I find interesting, on just literally just like looking and searching up art. And that's one of the reasons why I enjoy going on Instagram and on my stories. I don't know if you've noticed this pattern, but random image coupled with like a random song lyric.
Yeah.
And that for some reason, it just inspires me. It's like I love living vicariously through art. So I love like music, obviously like paintings, photography. I just love it. And then when you mesh like different types of art together, like there's this thing that just like brings inspiration. I don't know how to explain it.
It's actually crazy to think about that. Like you're actually meshing two different types of art together.
It's two different, and then trying to make them kind of like have a conversation with each other. And then through that conversation, relaying the essence of the conversation to whoever's watching it. And like, that's why to me, it doesn't feel wasteful to like waste 3 Instagram stories back to back of just like whatever. So if I'm ever like feeling myself, quote unquote, or like feeling like inspired or whatever, or if I'm like in like a fuck you mood, it's never towards anyone specific. It's always like towards myself in the weirdest way.
Yeah.
It's kind of like towards my own self-doubt. And I'm not gonna say the voices in my head, because otherwise people will put put me in the mental asylum.
They're gonna have a conspiracy theory on you.
Just like in a straitjacket.
Like, oh, Cal from Mentally Gone Studios. Like, I don't know what's up with him, but
he said he has voices in his head, and you know, no, but like the voices of like self-doubt, voices of just like, oh, like you can't do it again. Like you can't produce another great video. You can't do this again, or you can't get like another brand deal. So it's kind of like fuck you to myself, if that makes sense. Yeah. But it's in a healthy way where I just kind of like gain from it, if that makes sense. I don't know.
As long as you turn it into a positive thing.
Exactly, channeling it.
Because there's like 2 routes. You either take it negatively or positively. Right. It's interesting because like, I don't know if I'm gonna sound like a psycho with this, but you know,
not more than me. At this point, you can.
In the Joaquin Phoenix Joker movie, you know, they say like life isn't a tragedy; it's a comedy. When you really think about it, it really is.
Yes.
Like every little thing, you could just chuckle, like, "Wow, that actually happened."
It's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And that ties into the whole like nihilism from the movie Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. It's like nothing matters. And that movie was kind of comical to me because it's so absurd and crazy and just out of this world.
With the sausage fingers.
Sausage fingers, right? It's like, that's exactly it. It's like being a rock, having sausage for fingers, and then just having intercourse the way they did, sticking sausages in each other's mouth. Like, things like that just made me laugh, like almost hysterically in the movie theater while watching. I was like, holy shit, like, this is great.
Yeah.
This is beautiful.
It had everything in it. It had comedy, horror. Like when she was like in the desk looking for her.
Yes.
It had like, drama.
Right. Made me almost cry.
Yeah.
Certain points. Well, not almost cry. I did cry during the rock scene, which was like 10 minutes of just silence and stillness and just words popping up on, like, what they achieved with that is just incredible.
It was amazing.
But like, that's exactly, it's like, it's so fucking hilarious to me. And that's literally how I approach everything now. It's like, I have and this is something that I also wanted to talk to you about. And I also wanted to like address it on a podcast because I don't think I've ever done it. But anyone looking out, like anyone from outside looking in rather, can like establish a prejudice, I guess, against me and say like, oh, like that guy, he's cocky. He's a narcissist. He's like this and this. But it's like I've developed so much self-belief. Sorry.
It's so easy nowadays because they don't know you and they see you all the time.
And then they judge it off of like maybe a Instagram post of me putting a hip hop verse saying that I'm the best or whatever, coupled with this random image that's what I'm really trying to do. Like, it doesn't matter to me anymore. And like, that's my point is like, if I turn to you and say, I'm going to be the biggest Twitch streamer, give me 1 year. I mean that.
Yeah.
But it's not because I'm like narcissistic or like overconfident or overzealous or like whatever. It's just because to me, nothing matters.
Yeah.
So it's like, I can do that. And all the reasons why I shouldn't do it don't weigh anything towards why I'm going to do it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
If any of that makes sense. I say that a lot, by the way, like if that makes sense. Yeah. But it's just finding that like humor and that like levity in everything and then just realizing like, hey, like just like you said, I want to change the world. Some people might like scoff and like say like, oh, like this guy wants to change the world.
Guy.
Yeah, like, oh, like him and 500 others want to change but it's like, yeah, like why not?
Yeah.
Just fuck, like you having that mindset is already puts you above those who like doubt it, if that makes sense, but not above in like like I'm like better than you because I'm actually changing the world. It's like above on like a spiritual level, if that makes sense. Even it's like you're in tune with something that's much bigger than all of us. And I'm not talking about God. I'm talking about like passion, like purpose rather. So it's just like finding the hilarities, I think, is key. And that's why The Joker was a beautiful film.
They're making a second part.
I
forgot the name. It's in French.
For it. I don't know the name either. I just thought it was Joker too.
No, it's like I'm not gonna even try. I'm gonna butcher it, but I think it's like translates to like two different personalities. And apparently, Willem Dafoe always wanted to play the Joker. So in a GQ like interview recently, he was like, "I want to play the Joker, and I have a perfect story for it. Where like I impersonate Joaquin Phoenix Joker, and he has to like deal with it, and like he's gonna be his own enemy essentially, Joker versus Joker.
Shit.
I know, right? And I feel like that would be a good plot.
I've seen TikToks of people transforming Willem Dafoe into the Joker, and he has the perfect face structure, like perfect laugh.
I mean, he does Green Goblin like perfectly. So imagine him
one of the
Joker.
Greatest villains, actually, super underrated actually, because like people always hold like Heath Ledger.
Yeah.
In this, which is obviously like very, very deserving, but like nobody talks enough about Green Goblin.
Have you seen the new Batman?
Yeah.
And did you like it?
I watched it only once, and I really liked it.
It was really long.
It was really drawn out. At certain points, it was like kind of like drawn out, but I did really enjoy it. But again, like I can't say anything right now because I still have to like rewatch it on HBO Max or whatever.
And did you like the Dark Knight series?
I did. Yeah.
I'm gonna be a little,
hot take.
But
Okay.
I really didn't like Christian Bale's Batman.
Really?
Yeah.
What part didn't you like?
I don't know. It's just I feel like he wasn't Batman. Like his fighting techniques, he didn't use gadgets a lot. He wasn't a detective.
He was like a ninja, right?
Yeah,
like,
I feel like those movies relied on the villains, and they did amazing.
Right.
Villains.
Right.
And I feel like another hot take. I feel like Ben Affleck's Batman.
You liked it.
I like
it. Okay. We're gonna end this podcast right here, guys.
No, because like
he has to go home now.
His fighting and like those scenes were perfect,
right.
and you know he used gadgets, and I like what's his name, Robert Pattinson. Like I like his Batman too a lot because he's an actual detective. I wish we got to see more of Ben Affleck's. We never got a solo movie, but I don't like Christian Bale's Batman, kind of.
But I see what you're saying too. It's like they obviously relied more on the villains, and then Robert Pattinson's Batman is more like the detective side of Batman, and almost strictly and entirely detective Batman with like occasional like fight scenes here and there and like gadget usage. But yeah, I could see that too. Yeah, Ben Affleck to me, like he just like his like.
I know he's just so broad.
Yeah, like his like bulkiness kind of threw me off a little bit because in my head I always imagined that like cartoon version of Batman, you know, that would stream on Cartoon Network. I was like, yeah, but to me it would probably go. Yeah, I can't rank them right now because I have to like rewatch the Batman and
there's a lot of different takes on them.
Yeah. What's your favorite like superhero movie? Period. If you had to choose one, and it doesn't have to be like superhero movie. It could be like Joker, for example, like comic book movie. I guess
comic movie.
Yeah.
You see, I'm a big fan of both sides. I love Marvel and DC. I really like the Snyder Cut. I don't know if you've seen it.
I tried watching it.
It's really long, 4 hours.
Yeah. I think I tried like portioning it, and then I never ended up watching.
It feels more like a comic book. That's why I liked it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But man, it's hard. There's a lot of movies.
Yeah, especially
Endgame was amazing, but I think Infinity War was better than Endgame because it had that, you know, all suspense. Like, oh, everybody died.
Like, what's gonna happen? Yeah.
I don't know. I love Iron Man. Like, he's my favorite superhero. I don't know. It's so hard. There's so many.
Okay, so do you agree with Martin Scorsese's take on
No, I do not.
comic book movies? So you think he's wrong?
I think he's wrong.
Do you think that he says that because he might be envious of the box office attention and galore that these movies get?
Maybe, but I think he's just old school. And I feel like, you know, he likes, you know,
pure
art.
Cinnamon. Cinnamon. Pure cinnamon. He's a fan.
It'll help you lose weight.
Yeah. Pure cinema, I meant to say. But yeah. Because like that's the vibe he gives off, is that like he's like an old school guy. Every film he does or every other film, it's like the same cast. He's kind of like Adam Sandler, right?
Yeah.
Because like he has his own like core like squad and group of people that he works with, and his movies are always consistently the same.
I want to see that new Adam Sandler movie.
Hustle, right?
Yeah.
Hustle.
I think it's Hustle, like the basketball player. It looks good.
They say it's very similar to Uncut Gems, the like shooting style and the like direction of the film, I guess. But yeah, I'm a fan of superhero movies, but I also do understand what Martin Scorsese, because like I'm a guy who, how to explain this? I can have fun, but I also like there's a part of my brain that I can't shut off where it's like always searching for deeper meaning in like everything.
Like the Joker. That was a
Joker
really good comic book movie.
Had me thinking for like days afterwards. Everything Everywhere all at once had me thinking for weeks. Still has me thinking. I have to rewatch it. But like always in search of like deeper meaning and like what can you extract from this that can be of practical value. And that goes back to the whole like hustle phase of my life that I still haven't like let go.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, like I can't really like have fun for the sake of having fun as much as I can just like overthink and overanalyze stuff.
Yeah.
So with that being said, I do enjoy like more serious takes, and that's why the Batman was really good to me, you know, like even though it was like drawn out and stuff, like I kept focusing on the camera shots, on like the
that's all
tone.
I do when I'm like watching movies. I'm like, I criticize them so
like
hard.
how did they get that shot, like what did they do?
Mirror shots, just like, yo, that's kind of hard.
Yeah And so like things like that, you know, it's just searching for deeper meaning. But I think that there's also a lot of joy that like Marvel has brought to the world in terms of just like entertainment.
Yeah, it brought on like a really cool community to light. You know, people used to shame comic books in the like 70s and 80s. Oh,
nerd.
Like, yeah, nerd. Or like like when the comic books first came out, they would blame comic books for like, you know, shootings and stuff, like violence. The same thing with TV. When TV came out, now video games, and you know,
they tried doing that with Joker, right?
Yeah,
they said that it would stimulate or motivate like killers and like shooters and shit, and nothing happened.
Yeah. It's like,
because it's all like hysteria and it's whatever it is, paranoia. I was gonna say something. Oh, what do you think about the conspiracy theory about so people say that, and it's very biased because it comes from like a hyper religious sector, I guess, of like YouTube or whatever, but I've seen videos dissecting Marvel films from like hyper religious folk, and I'm not religious at all. Like,
I've
I'm not
seen
even
those
remotely.
videos too.
You have?
Yeah.
Okay, so just to make sure that they're the same ones, they break down and point out how they're promoting and pushing a Luciferian ideology where every like Ultron was technically a Jesus figure, a God figure. Thanos was actually the good guy who was coming and like resetting the world.
I just think about like those memes like I see on Twitter. It was like, oh yeah, I think Thanos was right.
Yeah, right. Like he was the right guy, and then you have this like squad of like misfits and like outfits and not outfits, but like misfits where they're like trying to save the world, and then like Thor fell from the heavens in the form of lightning, just like Lucifer did. Doctor Strange is always doing this, which is apparently like a witchcraft thing or whatever.
Scarlet Witch.
It's like always like these like, you know, like one eye symbolism. Like, what do you think of like, because if there's no point, like either the executives at Marvel are like, we're gonna just fuck with religious people just for shits and giggles, or there's a bigger agenda by like the deep state. It's like using Marvel, you know, like what do you see that as?
I've actually seen like the other way around too, where like people like see like religious like God figures in them. Like for example, like have you seen the new Doctor Strange?
I haven't seen that one yet.
Okay.
No.
I'm not gonna spoil, but there's like a scene where he turns like water into wine, and like people looked at that. I was like, oh, like you know, Jesus did that. Yeah. And I think they just do it for like, you know,
shits and giggles.
Yeah, shits and giggles. And you know, I don't really think there's like a big agenda, although like people creating those content might influence that, you know, agenda. And like people are like, oh, like they're making it bigger than what it seems.
Right. And maybe they do it because of that, because they know that there will be a big part of society that'll make it bigger than it seems, and then that'll grant them more marketing, and then it'll get people like me talking about it to you, and then this will be on a podcast, and then
this is all planned.
Right. And I work for Marvel secretly, and I'm a part of the deep state, and that's why your cup holder thing has this symbol in it. You know, everything is meticulously crafted and planned out. Every word I've said here, every stutter, every brain fart, everything's, you know, just planned out. Yeah. It's like, I don't know. All right, so I kind of want to just segue now.
Yeah.
Into, I have a lot of brain farts because I have a very like scattered brain.
That's me.
Do you have like ADHD problems? Like, do you have problems paying attention or like focusing for long periods or no?
I feel like I do sometimes.
You do?
I don't know if I'm like diagnosed with it or not.
Yeah, I don't know either. I just like self-diagnose myself, like a hypochondriac or whatever they call it.
I feel like sometimes I'd be like OCD. It was like I see something like at a wrong place and I want to fix it, and then when
otherwise
you
can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Otherwise you just. What's the biggest thing that you've dealt with personally throughout COVID? Like something that you had to fix, quote unquote, or you had to deal with?
I would say my health, most importantly, because, you know, I had like problems with my stomach, and right now I'm like having problems with my liver. So I had to like switch my diet around, and I feel like that switch, you know, they say that like gut health is the most important like thing in your body, and I feel like food influences that so much. Like if you eat like healthy foods, you're gonna feel happier and like healthier. You can move around more, and I'm still in that process and transitioning. Sometimes, you know, I feel like my stomach in pain or my liver in pain, and you know that's something I've been dealing with. But the most important thing in COVID. And
Right.
maybe financial issues too, but like, you know, you're always gonna get money somewhere.
Yeah.
So I don't really worry about that.
I am also of the belief that like what you ingest and what you put into your body is obviously super important, right?
Yeah.
And they say that the gut is like the second brain,
Yeah.
if not the most important brain, because it defines your mood and all that stuff. And I've actually been struggling recently, and just like I told you, I've been the most overweight I've ever been. And there are days when more than I'd like to admit, where I'll wake up, I'll go to the bathroom or whatever, and I'll look myself in the mirror and I'll just feel like super stressed and just angry at myself. It's like, you fucking idiot.
Yeah.
Because we order out a lot in this household, and like that's one of the biggest problems is like it's very tempting.
It is.
You know, because
it's easy. It's right
so
there.
fucking easy, because like we have DoorDash and we like pay that like extra price or whatever so that you have like free delivery and all that stuff. So it's like, it's so cheap. It's like $10 a month or like whatever it is, and then it's free delivery. And all you have to do is just click a button. It's like, I've been struggling with that idea of just instead of doing that, just go upstairs and just fix food or meal prep, which is something that I would do before. But then I start thinking, I'm like, but I prefer fresh food. And then the irony is that
meal prep.
it's super
so
hard because it's like every Sunday, and the food, like if you don't freeze it, it kind of starts getting a little bit disgusting.
By Saturday, like the food is like,
yeah, it's kind of like tasteless. It's like watery too. Like if you pop it into the microwave and then it gets all like moist, and stuff that's not supposed to be moist is moist, and that's what she said. But like things like that, it just demotivates me versus like ordering Chipotle, Kava, like all that stuff that just comes like prepackaged in food form. But they use a lot of additives and hormones and shit.
A lot of like those dressings have a lot of calories.
Right, and you don't think they have any calories because you're eating rice and chicken versus ordering a Big Mac. But sometimes it's the same amount of calories.
Yep.
Do you think it's possible today to be healthy? And I guess like this is the question I was trying to get to. It's like, do you think it's possible to be healthy and mindful of what you eat without driving yourself insane? Because if you start thinking about like everything that's in everything, it's like even water. I was struggling to find
it has salt in it or not, like
right, and all of those like fucking like cheap ass waters from like ShopRite and shit that like on Poland Springs or Dasani's the like worst one of them because it's made by like Pepsi, I think, or something like that.
Dasani, it makes you thirstier.
It makes you thirstier because it has like salt and stuff. So it's like, what can you trust? And then those are always on sale. So it's like, get 3 packs of 24 for like $9, and there's a reason why.
Yeah.
And like that's another thing that I've been coming into realization recently. It's like everything, I'll like analyze the like labels and make sure that there's not anything that I can't pronounce.
Yeah.
You know, but then that comes at a price, because if you want good water, then you have to pay
more money,
maybe like 5x the amount.
Yep.
You know, so like, and then so how do you deal with that? Like, do you struggle with that at all, or are you just?
Yeah, I do struggle with that. I actually have an app. It's called Yuka.
I have Yuka.
Yeah, it's
great.
Really good.
It's great.
You know, you can see all the additives and stuff.
And it's super
healthy.
quick too.
Yeah.
It's just scan. Yep.
So I use that most of the time. It's just the U.S., bro. Like.
Yeah, that's what I don't get. It's like every other country doesn't have that problem.
Yeah, they banned those chemicals and stuff. Like we had Red 40 and all that.
Yellow something, like Yellow 5 or some shit.
Yeah, and it's hard because you have to like take your time, do your homework on what to get. But I feel like once you like get used to it and make it a habit, it's just second nature. So like right now, like for dinner, all I eat is like salad, like spring mix with different types of protein. You know, whether it's like tuna, salmon, chicken, beef.
Lean.
Yeah, everything
basically.
lean. And you know, I eat eggs in the morning with an apple for my fiber. I eat Ezekiel bread.
Ezekiel bread is good. Yeah.
And you know, I got so in the habit of it that I know I'm not even going to the gym because I can't go to the gym. I have like problems, but I'm starting to lose weight because of my diet.
Just by like what you're ingesting. Yeah.
And like people's like come up to me, they're like, "What the? You lost weight?" And I'm like,
"Are you doing cardio every day or something like that?" Like,
"You've been going to the gym?"
No, I'm just.
And I was like, "Yeah, like I haven't been going to the gym, but you know, I've lost like a good like 10 pounds in a month because of my diet. You know, my diet used to be, I feel like it was good, but I would like eat too much, and you
like
know, it's all calorie.
Yeah.
It's all about portions too. Like being at a calorie deficit, you know, you're always gonna lose weight.
Yeah. And just knowing how to like moderate yourself. So if you're gonna eat at Cheesecake Factory, like just like take one spoonful or whatever. I looked into that recently because I was about to order like a cheesecake because I'll have these like random chocolate cravings. That's why I always keep a Hershey's chocolate bar in the like right next to my bed because I'll just eat like a little bite before bed. But I was gonna order one of those cheesecakes, and they have like 2,000 plus calories for like one little slice of Hershey's cheesecake, and that really got me thinking. And I think I did that yesterday or the day before.
Yeah, you don't notice like the nutrition facts where like it says, you know, one serving is this much.
Yeah.
But the whole thing is like, you know, 5 servings.
And then one serving is like one spoonful or something. And then like people are like, oh shit. And they make sure to put that part like right really below it in like smaller print.
So you eat like 3 times the amount of servings. And you're like,
my God. Do you think that this is, again, like maybe there isn't this ulterior motive or whatever?
No, I think there's an ulterior motive for this.
I think that when it comes to food, honestly, like not even just because it's a conspiracy and it's fun to like contemplate, but I think that there is a reason why they make all these like good food that are bad for you, like accessible. And then the food that don't necessarily taste as great, but are the best for you, like heightened, you know? Like they, in my opinion, they want to keep you like plump, sedated.
Get your pills from the doctors, paying more money.
Right.
Bills from, you know, hospitals. I noticed that it's also a supply chain issue, by the way, but like I noticed that if I go to a Dunkin' in a well, you know, neighborhood, the almond milk is like 30 cents. But if I go to like, you know, Newark, New Jersey in a Dunkin', the almond milk is like $1.50 to add. And I'm like, that's actually crazy.
Wow. And it's the same milk.
Yep.
Wow. I did not know that.
It might be because, you know, they could like purchase more because, you know, it's a wealthier neighborhood. Or maybe not, you know, who knows?
Probably not.
Because, you know, they could just, you know, want you to pay more to keep you, you know, poorer. Right. Stay in that neighborhood.
Because that neighborhood has more minorities, it has more, I think that there's a lot to it.
It's the same thing. You go into a shop, right? Just look at the things. They have more healthier options, you know, in wealthier neighborhoods.
And like Whole Foods, for example. Yeah, that's crazy to me. I don't know. Like I think that also adds to my feeling of like disenchantment with the world sometimes. And it's not necessarily nihilism, but it kind of borders on nihilism, where I just kind of like have been able to take a major step back from things that I would value maybe, or things that I was just kind of oblivious towards. And I just see everything now. I'm like obviously not everything, but I see a lot of these things where I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what's going on here?
It's a little sketch.
It's definitely sketch. Like, why are you charging more? You know, like there is a reason.
And just the small things that you don't notice.
Yeah. And that's how they get you. It's because like, it's a gradual thing.
Yeah, I feel like that's everything gradual.
Yeah.
Like whether you want to take a healthier option, just gradually do it.
You know, like that makes sense because people can't really afford Whole Foods. Like not everybody can afford to like spend $500 on like Whole Foods.
I'm gonna give a hot take.
Go for it.
I feel like, you know, like food, water, and like medical bills and stuff, it should all be free.
It should be free.
Like it's such a necessity. We shouldn't be paying for that.
Right. And are you against or in favor of like universal basic income? Because like that's a form of like trying to like make those things free.
Yeah, it's hard to make stuff free. You know, it comes at a cost.
But at the same time, the U.S. government was able to like print trillions of like dollars out of nowhere, out of like thin air. You know.
Then that created inflation too, though.
Which will create the recession now. So it's like out of thin air. But at the same time, hey, what are you gonna do about it?
I feel like, you know, the capitalist mindset. I love the capitalist mindset. You know, but I feel like it shouldn't be dawned upon with like necessities like food and water and like things for your health. Because how are you gonna you're really gonna rely on people, you know, to get unhealthy? And like, what if they can't have babies? Then you're not gonna be like marketing to the babies.
Have stuff to sell. Yeah, like people to sell to.
We need to like, you know, be healthy. You know, create the next generation and their next generation. So,
speaking of next generation, I
was gonna say like I don't really want to spoil it, Doctor Strange, but like
you could spoil it because I'm gonna watch it when it comes out on Disney Plus. I'm not gonna go to the movie theaters to watch it right now.
Yeah, it's coming out soon too on Disney Plus.
On the 27th, I think.
Yeah. They go into this universe where like food is free, And like they say, oh yeah, like in most universes, food is free. And like I kind of like chuckled. I was like, that's funny. Like they're attacking like the capitalists.
Right.
But I believe both can exist at the same time, like capitalism and like, you know, the socialist aspect of giving like food free and water free.
Speaking of the next generation, like what do you think about the metaverse?
Oh.
And like and speaking of universes, like what do you think about this idea of kind of relinquishing yourself or abandoning the physical realm in order to entertain something that's not palpable and not real? And I forgot who said this quote, but there's a famous quote saying that that basically said, "You will own nothing and you will be happy," which is what's happening now with like NFTs, Bitcoin. Like you don't see these things.
It's crazy.
They're not palpable, and you're paying millions. And like there are like money laundering methods that are going on. Obviously, like people who spend millions on a NFT, for example, like that's a way to like wash and like cleanse your money, so you don't have to tax it, or it's like tax deductible because it's artwork. All that stuff ties into play. But even people who are just genuinely looking for investments and genuinely like looking for stuff to invest in, like they'll put $100,000 in a fucking NFT, Bitcoin, versus just buying a plot of land. You know, like it's wild to me. But like, what do you think about it?
See, I kind of like that with the metaverse. I have a VR.
You do?
Yeah.
I want to get a VR.
Yeah, I got the Steam one, the Steam Index. It's like $1,000. But I play like VR chat. I don't know if you ever seen that.
I've seen those on TikTok.
Yeah.
on like guys trying to like sexually assault women. It's so funny, dude. It's like trying to like grab on them and stuff, and then they'll like call the like moderator or whoever, and there's like, sir, like you can't grope on women here or whatever. It's super funny.
Yeah.
Do you do that? Like, do you sexually assault
women?
No,
I do not do that. I see it happen.
We got him, boys.
But no, like you're in this. It's crazy because like in the menu, like you go through like a little portal, and then you go to like a server where it's like a big plot of land, 200 people, 200 living people from like different parts of the world, just talking to each other.
Headset.
Yeah, imagine you just
that's crazy.
And you know it's fun. Like sometimes you know people are hilarious in there, and they'll make jokes, they'll sing songs on the mic. Like there's talented people, and there's people who seek the talent just to like, you know, have laughs and stuff. But it's fun, but I don't think it should be a habit where like you're just there all day and stuff, because you're just gonna lose yourself in it.
Lose yourself.
It's like I don't know if you've ever seen like Ready Player One.
I was about to say that.
I actually saw the movie for the first time like the other day, and I was like, wow, it's pretty.
Wow, like that's where we're headed right now. It's pretty cool, yeah. Ready Player One is the first thing that pops into my head whenever I read something about like VR, because it makes so much sense in a like where the world is headed now. There's less and less plots of land. There's less and less real estate. There's more and more people. So it's gonna get to a point where we're just piling on top of each other.
And buy real estate in the game,
virtual, like, which is already happening.
Yeah,
like Snoop Dogg bought a house and like a plot of land for like $1 million or something like that. Crazy. It's wild. And then Snoop Dogg joined FaZe, I think, with like Call of Duty. It's like
FaZe Snoop.
This seems like a fucking fever dream, you know? Like it's like you're gonna wake up and just tell your friend
10
like,
years ago, you're like playing, not even like 15 years ago, you're playing Modern Warfare 2. You would never think Snoop Dogg is gonna be a part of FaZe.
Never imagine it, no, because Snoop Dogg was just like gangster and just smoking weed or whatever, and like and at the time those people were nerds, you know. And just the other day, I stumbled across a video that was recommended to me about like a Call of Duty League event, and then I clicked on it, and I was just blown away by how serious the announcers were taking the game. They were announcing it as if it was like football, basketball. It's like, oh, and whatever. That blew my mind.
I actually watch a lot of those competitions. Like
it's so compelling. It's so addicting because I like stayed to watch for like 30 minutes and I was like in it without
like
knowing anyone
working together. Like, oh, I'm gonna hold this spot, you hold this spot, you hold this spot.
Seeing them like highlighted and like seeing where they are, and then just thinking like, damn, like this player doesn't see that, but he knows. It's like, how the fuck do you know that they're gonna come out from over there? It's so quick and like that's a real talent.
Yeah, I watch a lot of like fighting game tournaments.
Really?
Yeah, there's like so much mind games into it. It was like, oh, are you gonna throw a punch? Can I counter it?
And it's quick too.
Yeah,
like
it's quick. It's like, it's crazy how people like their reaction time is like crazy.
Wild.
Like one frame per second they could like
will decide if you live or yeah. Do you play do you play anything heavily?
Currently I play a lot of Apex.
Apex. Yeah. I've heard of Apex. I've never played it though.
League of Legends. I don't know if you ever heard of that.
LOL, right?
Yeah.
LOL. I have friends in Brazil because I went to school in Brazil that were hooked on LOL.
Yeah, it's kind of addicting.
Yeah. And to this day, like they play it and I think like stream it or something like that.
Yeah, I used to play a lot of fighting games like, you know, Marvel vs. Capcom, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat. I still play them occasionally. But back then I was like into it like heavily. Yeah. I would like join like local tournaments and face people.
Have you ever thought about like making like have you ever gotten to a point where you were like, what if I Twitch this? Like, what if
I've done it before? Yeah.
You have?
Yeah, I've streamed before.
And like, how was that experience? Like what takeaway did you get from it?
It's really fun. I think the most views I ever got was like at once was like 12 people watching me,
which is a lot for like
it is for like somebody that's known,
a newcomer. Yeah.
And you know, I talk to them, and you know, they write back to me. It's like it's nice. Like
it's a crazy feeling, right? And I felt something similar doing a TikTok live, and it's such a weird feeling because you feel like you aren't like almost as if you're not deserving of that attention or of that like recognition and that like engagement, if that makes sense. Because like it's one thing to get a lot of views and like comments on a TikTok because it's like a piece of content that you created and then you just put it out there, and then you like you have no obligation to like reply to people, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's I don't know if you heard about it, but TikTok, they're like updating their live streams where like now you can have emotes like Twitch, like, you know, the little Pepe frog.
Oh, and then people can subscribe to it, and then they'll get like a personalized emote. Just like YouTube does too, right?
YouTube does the same thing.
Yeah, because I used to watch this day trader, and he would stream every single morning while like trading. Yeah. And the people who subscribe would get this like beer mug, and then over the months their beer mugs would like fill up.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
And like become like a big full black beer mug, I guess. I don't know. And I found that interesting. I was like, damn, like this is a very interesting way, because then it creates this like subconscious hierarchy within the ranks of the
tier 1 subs and tier 2.
It's like, I'm a real fan because I've been here since day one, and my beer mug is like ultra dark, and it's like ultra dark beer, and yours is just
20 months in a row, man.
Right. And like, isn't that wild though? It's because like that taps into our like lizard brain, right? It's like this idea of like hierarchy. It's like, it's so fascinating to me. And it's so strange too, because with like everything happening and with like TikTok and all this like newfound attention, I still haven't like really like sat with it and like assimilated it. Like to me, it's still kind of like surreal. It's still kind of like just like this thing, but it's gonna get to a point where you just like see it in like a physical form. So like you'll like meet someone, and then someone will like recognize you, and then once that gets to that point, like I've been like thinking in my head, I'm like, how do you navigate that? Like, I don't think there's like a healthy way to like truly navigate something like that, where like people feel like they know you. Like, imagine this is episode number 100, and we're doing our 10th episode, and then things are just like so different, where people feel like they know me and they feel like they already know you. Yeah. And then maybe someone sees you at the gym, and then they're like, oh, like shit, like you were on that podcast, yeah. Or the podcast that you will create for yourself. It's such a weird thing. It's like strangers just feeling like they know you. It's like such a fucking.
I'm gonna cut you off real bit.
No, for sure.
I really gotta go.
Go pee. Because funny enough, like I also have to pee. I want to motivate people to like bring whatever it is that you have to bring. So if it's like photography, if it's like Instagram, pictures that you have on like a certain profile page, and then as we talk about it, I'll like put it on screen or like tell people to go check it out, you know, because like then that way it also, just like lifts like your, because like this is a platform.
And it's used as inspiration too. A lot of people just don't start.
Right. So you have to start somewhere. And then also creating like snippets of this episode, obviously posting it on TikTok, and then, you know, telling people like go check out his stuff on like Instagram.
OnlyFans,
like check him out in a bikini, you know, highly recommend it. But so like, go ahead.
Oh, so, you know, I talked to one of my friends, and she always has like these ideas to like, you know, make a company and stuff. And, you know, like you said, clothing, you know, it could like show out, like bring out a message. So recently, it's very early in stages. It's up and running shop. I created a clothing brand called Eunoia. Eunoia Apparel Designs. Eunoia is like the shortest word that uses all the vowels of the alphabet, and it means a beautiful mind, beautiful thinking.
Wow.
Yeah. So with her, we came up with like words that you don't hear often, like serendipity, and like words like that. And so my first collection is called Serendipity. To meet somebody, like it's like I met you, like we clashed, and it was just meant to be. And so with the collection, we try to like include concepts of serendipity, like a flower knocking down a brick, or like dominoes. I have this logo. It's like a lotus flower. That's like my main logo. What else do I have? I have like quotes, the serendipity quotes, and I feel like it's a clothing company to bring beautiful minds together,
and to kind of shed awareness towards like the power that these words have, and to kind of like portray, because like just like you said, I think that clothing in general, it's obviously a way for you to like express yourself to the world, right? So like, first instance, like both of us are walking down the street. If you're wearing the serendipity shirt, then I kind of already have a glimpse into like what this guy's all about. Even if we're just passing each other down like Times Square, for example, like a crowded place.
I don't know if you've seen on TikTok like an ad of a guy like in a supermarket in his shirt, and it's like a hoodie he's wearing, and the back of it is like, oh, this person believes like you're amazing, and like you're reading it, like the audience reads it. Okay. Yeah, something like that.
That's actually a cool idea. It's very similar to that guy on TikTok. I don't know if you saw him. He like walks around and like hands people random notes.
Yeah, I love those videos.
Those videos are like, those videos have made me cry before, because like those people, like a lot of times they need to like have some sign, and I think that that's very powerful, because like you don't have to be a person that's like into astrology, into numerology, 1111, it's 555. Like you don't have to be that person who's like always like searching for those specific signs, but everyone I think needs to have like some form of reassurance in life.
When they didn't even think they needed. I think that's when they needed the most.
That's when they needed the most. Exactly. It's like when you think that it's not even possible for you to have any positive sign, and then you're at the supermarket and you're on your last dollar and you're barely able to afford milk, and then the guy in front of you is wearing that shirt or that hoodie,
Yeah, so that's basically like my clothing brand. I'll probably announce it right now, but I'm thinking about like next collection already, and I'll probably call it Tranquility.
That's great.
Just have everything based on tranquility. Right. Maybe one called Enlightenment and stuff,
And where can people like buy it?
You could buy it on my website called UnoiaApparel.com,
which will be linked in the description of this video. By the way,
I think I have like the profile linked on my Instagram, so you can check
which
it out.
Which is what?
It's Fabri Lob. It's
you can spell it out, or I'll just pop it up.
Yeah, it's
like easier to do.
FAHHBAADELOP. Yes.
Okay, because I just say to like spell it out for people like maybe listening and stuff, because like then they'll just pop it out. But but that's for real. Like,
I like always thought about it for long, and I just wanted to start it, so I just said F it, I did my research, I did a little marketing. I still have a long way to go, I'm just at the beginning. It's like 3 weeks in. But
you started.
Yeah, I started. That's the most important thing.
That's the most important part. Yeah.
And I feel like everybody should start what they want to do. Even though if it's bad in the beginning, you're always going to improve. Everything
is always going to be hyper intimidating too. Yep. Like, do you think I really know anything about podcasting? Like, I don't. Like, I have a lot to learn in terms of communicating, especially, again, just like I told you before we started recording. I'm very crusty, like very like it's been a year. I'm not really like used to having a conversation, having guests over, so I have to kind of like tap back into that like host Cali, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then try to like make sense of it, but at the same time not losing the real Cali and not like playing the host the entire time.
Yeah.
But like staying true to who I am, because I could easily just tap into this character where it's like, oh, and then what happened next, and then just have like that like superficial and plastic voice. I hate shit like that. So like my point is, you have to like just say fuck it, just like you said.
You're never gonna be ready.
You're never gonna be ready.
I'm pretty sure with you, like you're almost at 900K, right?
Right.
You're not ready to speak to all those people, but you just got to go with it.
I'm never ready. And if anything, I'm like running away from it to a certain extent. It's like I'm fearing that day, like when the day comes, but it will come one day.
Yeah.
Because like that's my goal. My goal is to build a platform, which ironically it all ties back into like this table, like this podcast, everything. So it's like the podcast and being able to have a platform. Sorry, I just burp a lot after coffee. It's like this weird thing. So creating a platform for like, if a friend of mine has a clothing brand, if a friend of mine is releasing a book, which is going to be the next guest.
Actually, it looks really interesting. I want to get it.
Right. So like he's going to come on, and then we're going to talk about his book and talk about other stuff too. Like talk about like maybe just whatever the fuck it is, but offering a platform and then doing all of the work behind the scenes, which is like building this TikTok, you know, like it's like, there's a lot of work that goes into creating a TikTok and to like creating that type of content and doing the research and editing and like everything, right? But like that's something that to me is like I deem worth it because of the final result, which is being able to. And one of my biggest inspirations is obviously like Joe Rogan, because he's done that.
And even Joe Rogan himself, like you may think like, oh, he's like the perfect podcaster.
He's not.
I just listened to him like the other day. He was like, you know, I'm still not the perfect podcaster. I'm still learning with each podcast I do how to podcast better, but you're never going to be perfect.
Imagine someone like him saying close. That. Yeah. Mm-hmm. What, like even getting close, I think that you just get like super experienced.
Yeah.
And then your level of experience is like comparable to other people's level of experience, but you can't ever compare it to like perfection, because that doesn't exist, you know? And so when I started this podcast, I had no idea what I was doing, and I still don't. So like my point being is that like it's very admirable whenever I come across people who are actually like doing stuff like, and I had no idea that you had a brand.
Yeah. You
know, so like that just goes to show too, it's like a lot of people that I have on are just people that I genuinely like get a vibe off of, and that's what I told you through texting, right? It's like that, like I have this thing where I can just tell if I'm gonna like fuck with this person or not. And with you,
and that's important. Like that intuition, like, oh, I could like
super heightened intuition. And I'm not trying to like put myself on like this like pedestal, but like I have a very heightened intuition, and it can serve as a good thing or a bad thing, and depending on like what scenario. But like for like business, for example, and like social relationships, I just always like have this feeling. It's like this person's going to be not only a good guest, but it's going to be like a good person to just bounce ideas off of, you know? And that's what is the most valuable to me. Because what a lot of people mistake, I think, like when they start anything, and it could be like a clothing brand, it could be a podcast, is that they view other people as like leverage to kind of like scale themselves. So it's like I could have looked at you and based this possibility of doing a podcast off of like numbers that you have or engagement rates. Like, oh, like, he doesn't have good engagement rate, whatever, or he doesn't. But like that's all bullshit. Like that doesn't matter, you know? So like what matters is just that authenticity, which I think really came off during this episode, is just that authentic engagement and conversation, be it me having brain farts, stuttering a lot, or mixing my ideas, or like having those like, you know?
Yeah, a lot of like great minds you probably will never speak to because, you know, they never like expose themselves to you.
Right.
And it's crazy because like people look up to a lot of people, but like a genius could be, you know,
living next door.
Yeah, right next to you. You never know because he never like tried.
Right. And one of the like best conversations I've ever had were with people on this podcast. You know, it's just like sitting down with people I've just stumbled across on the internet, and then I just got that like feeling. I'm like, oh, like, let's have a podcast.
Like, you didn't know me like 5 years ago. Like,
no. Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's crazy how it works.
Serendipity.
Serendipity right there. Yeah. And I don't know if you know, but Gary Vee talks about it a lot too. Yeah. Right. And, but yeah, it's like everything just kind of has its way of like working out. And I think that like today you came on, and then hopefully like this adds some value to your life and to what you have going on. And it serves multiple different purposes, both from like an exposure perspective, which is the more like analytical way of looking at it. But then there's the more like spiritual, humanistic, and just holistic standpoint, which is like, oh, like this could add to how I think about stuff, or just having that feeling of like being social.
Yeah, and it's all about having fun too. Like this is fun. Like it's good to have these experiences.
As corny as it sounds, like that's always my number one rule is like, am I having fun with this? You know, and like that's why I continue doing TikTok stuff, because to me it's fun.
Yeah, it is.
It's fun to just like put crazy ideas out there, and 80% of them I don't believe in, but I just put them out there just to read people's like, oh, like I don't think this is true. I think Jesus is coming back. I think whatever. I'll just like laugh and just like chuckle to myself and just you know, like it's fun. Yeah. It's fun and it's very rewarding. So my last question is, so at the end of every podcast, what I like to ask the guests and what I like them to kind of do is, imagine that you're walking on the world stage right now.
Okay.
And the whole world has stopped and they all have like an earpiece plugged in where everything you're going to utter into the microphone is going to be translated into their language and they're going to understand it perfectly.
Yeah.
What would you do staring into that camera? What would you like say to them right now, to the entire world? It could be one word, it could be a phrase, it could be a statement, anything. Like you have this moment, like what would you do? Or say rather.
I'd be like, GG everybody. It's over. It's like no, in all seriousness, I'll probably say you know, to get started on what you want to do, you know, a lot of people are going through times right now, bad times right now. And I say, you know, look at the positive in those times. And when you, yeah, it's kind of hard when you're like up on stage, right?
Yeah. Everybody's listening, but no pressure, you know?
Yeah. It's like, you know, you may think like it's the end, like when something is ending, like you lose all hope and stuff, but that just leads into another door opening. I like to say, you know, beginnings always start themselves in ends, you know, there's always new beginnings, and that life is now. And like, you have to just live, because you're not going to find happiness, you know, sitting down in one place. Just move. Even walking out in the park, you will find something to do. Maybe a new hobby in walking, you know, just start. That's my message. Just start
and just open your eyes to the availability of like possibilities around you. Right?
Yeah. There's so many possibilities and opportunities nowadays.
And they're always being presented.
Yep.
Just the example, a lot of people like, no, I like to say that a lot of people can see, but very few have vision.
Mm-hmm.
Because like, I think that vision and being able to see stuff are like completely different. Because like you could see fabric and then just see it as fabric, or you can have the vision to see it as like potential.
Yeah.
So I think that's what sets visionaries, ironically, well, not ironically, but like hence the term visionaries, apart from the general populace. You know, like it's not a matter of like hierarchy or like being better than anyone else. It's just like having a vision and then just being courageous enough, because it takes courage to act on something.
Starting is like halfway through, you know.
It's one of the hardest things because you're risking looking like an idiot if it doesn't work out.
I like to like put in a percentage scale, like, you know, starting is like 50%, 25% is being consistent, and that last 25% is like when you get there to like maintain that consistency.
Yeah, like what do you do once you reach that proverbial mountaintop?
Yeah, because I used to have a fear of like being successful and not know how to handle it.
Fear of success. Yeah,
it's hard.
It's way more common than you think. Yeah, which is what I'm like going through right now, kind of. And again, it sounds cocky or whatever, but like that's kind of what I've been like putting myself through. It's like, how do I manage everything now?
Because it's like you don't want to mess up.
I don't want to
miss everything.
Right. So it's like, but also, do you continue doing what got you to this point, or are you feeling comfortable enough to kind of innovate? Like, when should you innovate? Because I think that it ties into the whole thing of like, I view us creators as like artists. So like any other artist, like a musicians who become stale and stagnant with their styles, for example, like throughout the years, when they pass away, their legacy will be less significant than a musician who constantly evolved.
Like Kanye, it's always different with Kanye. You know?
Every album is a different feeling. Yeah. And then for Drake, for example, as much of a fan as I am of his, CLB was a flop.
Yeah.
And it's like a lot of the same sounds that you know you're gonna expect from this artist. So it's like he's not courageous enough, I don't think, to change and to risk it.
Passion Fruit was like, had everybody moving.
Passion Fruit is an amazing song, by the way. It's like top tier Drake, and it's like something that you would never expect from Drake, you know? So like exactly that.
No, I feel like, to answer your question, like if you want to innovate and you want to do it, just do it, because you already have that community behind you. Like, for example, like the biggest YouTube star, PewDiePie, he doesn't do gaming videos anymore.
Right.
He just talks to people, and like he made that transition, and people are still with him since the beginning.
People still fuck with him. Yeah. I think that's just and that's why I told you before we like started too. I want to get into gaming, right? But then there's a lot of reasons not to get into gaming. And so like, even though I told you that I'm a perfectionist and that I want to kind of like see how my content stands when it's compared to like Hollow's content or whatever, I have to like get past that and then just focus on like the essence of what I'm doing and see if it resonates. And if the essence resonates, then it justifies every other investment on the exterior, you know, like then I'll upgrade to a capture card, $200. Then I'll upgrade to a $2,000 camera, you know, like everything is gradual.
I just see, like, I go on Twitch and I see like small Twitch streamers and they have the best communities. Like, they get a lot of money too because, you know, people love them. Right. It's not big Twitch streamers, they have like big communities, but a lot of that could be toxic. A lot of people do it to like, you know, to like this F around and chat and stuff. But I don't know, I have to say, like I said in the beginning, just get started, do what you want to do, have fun with it. And if you think you have to change for other people, I say just don't do it. Just keep on doing what you do because you're going to find the right community with that mindset.
For sure. You always find your niche type of thing. All right. So with all that being said, thanks again for coming on.
Thank you.
I really appreciate you like believing in this podcast enough to come on. And I just want to thank everybody in the past who has come on because it's been a year since I've done this. It just means a lot because like being able to like, because like that shows that for some reason you had enough belief, not only in this like endeavor, but in the person behind it. Right. So like that's what I treat, for example, people with like startups, right? You put your trust in the person behind it and not in the like product itself.
Yeah, it goes both ways because, you know, I'm very grateful that you chose me to be know, the returning guest.
The honor is all mine, honestly, because like I just knew that this was like the perfect fit because it's just like the vibe is just right. And it's not, and also another thing that I'm going to be very careful with, and I'm already putting that out there, is like, I don't want anybody to expect me to like play politics now that I'm like getting to this point. Like, I'm not going to be like, oh, exchange, right? Because you have how many followers? Oh, okay. So, I'll have you on, even though I don't really like find anything interesting about you. You'll come on, I'll gain from, it's like, no, like I'm not going to like resort to that, you know? And I'm always going to keep it like authentic to like what I feel and who I feel should come on and who I feel I actually have a connection with and I actually can develop a connection with.
Yeah.
And just basing off of like your friend group, I kind of already like made that like put two and two together. Like, all right, so if he's friends with him, then he's probably like a genuine person. Yeah. And it turned out to be entirely false. Hated this episode. I'm just trying to fucking, you know, just like leave this shit. But yeah, in all seriousness, thanks again. And with that being said, don't forget to check out his stuff linked below. I'll put like all of your information, your Instagram handle, TikTok handle, website, everything. Eunoia. And don't forget to like, subscribe. If you're listening to this, leave some feedback. It helps the show. And with that being said, stay tuned for the next episode of Mentally Gone Conversations. I forgot to mention, like, that's the new name now.
Mentally Gone Conversations.
Because, like, I think that captures the essence. And I thought it would be too long, but then you get, like, Joe Rogan Experience. You know, like, it's, like, the same length, kind of. So
Joe Rogan Experience.
Yeah, Joe Rogan Experience. It's like, a huge word. Mentally Gone Conversations. So, episode number 30. All right, peace out, guys.
Peace.